Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody watching this video today. Today, we are going to be reviewing the Aston Martin v Porsche pack. We're going to be buying it in this video, reviewing it, telling you how to access it. Pretty simple, but let's get on with it. So down here, the bottom left corner, you can see you can flick through all of the packs, like the Porsche versus the Aston pack, welcome LMGT3 pack, things like this. I have got a lot of these packs. The one pack that I don't actually have is the Porsche versus Aston Martin pack. We are going to go into Steam here and obviously get this pack. So we are going to add this to the cart. We are going to view our cart. It costs £6. It's not as bad as it may seem. It was on a deal yesterday at £430, but it really isn't a bad price at all. And now that we've bought the pack, we can just close Steam, back to the game, and we have bought the pack. Right, and now there is nothing else to do but go into race weekend and test out the cars. So we're going to go into race weekend, obviously, and if you do not know which cars this are, this is the Aston Martin Vantage AMR LMGT3, and obviously here the Aston Martin. And before we test that out, we have the Porsche 911 GT3R LMGT3. Got some interesting liveries in my opinion. This was a really interesting choice from them, but these two perfectly fine for me. But yeah, I think we're going to start off with the Aston Martin, see what it feels like, because I've heard it's a nice car, so I really want to do test out. I've heard that it's similar to the BMW in many ways, but maybe a bit more competitive, and things like that. We're obviously going to have to get used to what TC settings we're going to need, what brake settings we're going to need, and what fixed race settings we're going to need. But other than that, let's get into driving. We're going to use the stock setup right now for absolutely everything. We're just going to go to 30% fuel, just because we don't need any more, any less. Allows for 6.5 laps. It's perfect. And we're going to start off driving immediately. The camera is at a really, really interesting angle in this car. It looks like very high above the ground, if I may say so myself, to be honest. But we're starting off, and the car does feel a bit light, maybe in the sense. But let's go over Eau Rouge, and it doesn't oversteer. So very, very nice from the Aston. It doesn't oversteer whatsoever in Eau Rouge, and it's still got that speed, even though we didn't have a great exit down into that turn. Good turning into all of these turns so far. Obviously going to need to get those tyres warm, so we shouldn't be pushing right now. Obviously I'm used to more oversteery brakes, so this does feel a bit weird to me, but we can feel a bit of that understeer here and there. The car feels less floaty now after doing a few turns. Now we're gonna go into this turn here. The car feels fast, I'll have to admit. It really does feel fast throughout a lot of these turns. It doesn't feel oversteery. It just feels stable and strong. It's meant to be an aerodynamic based car, So not meant to have a great engine or anything like that, but just great aero and to let it bring it to its advantage. But I have to admit, the car feels really, really nice. The one thing that is a bit of a downside in this car, me personally, is the viewing that you get of this camera angle. It's just a bit weird. You don't get enough, room to see everything, I guess you could say. But going into the chicane, it does feel a bit heavy, maybe. Yeah, I would say it does feel a bit heavy into the turn. But we just might need to get to know that turn a bit more in this car. Late apex there. Getting onto the gas a bit late there. But the car, we're pushing the traction, in my opinion, to its limits. So we really are testing the car's traction limits here. The car is meant to have good traction. By all means, it is showing what it's capable of, including its speed, because flipping hell, man. We are going 162 down the first straight of Spa, cutting these little curbs here. Very nicely through that turn. And we do seem to be going pretty darn fast, to be honest. I would like to experiment with the brake bias on this car, because this car could definitely use a bit of brake bias to the front of the tyres to get more turning into a lot of the turns. But it has got good turning speed as well, which is nice, to be honest. Have to admit, it is very nice for the car. Going out of that turn, we have a lot of speed, which is nice. Even with light taps on the brakes going out of that turn, we don't oversteer, so not a problem there. It's a front engine car, so it obviously tends to oversteer, but it is meant to use more trail braking, obviously too, which is another thing. But going out of these turns, we are a bit slow compared to our average lap times. Obviously, it is pretty tricky getting used to these cars that you haven't driven. But in my opinion, you just got to push the car to its limits in every single lap, or do your best to push it to its limits. Obviously, I can't really see the turns here, so it's a bit tricky for me to actually visualize where I am going. But we're starting off with a bit of a mid-lap, in my opinion, a 221.8, so nothing impressive there, to be honest. But we're gonna keep going. This car has a bit more of a tendency to understeer than the BMW, but over the curbs, it feels really, really nice. It doesn't snap out of the turn maybe as much, which is another thing that I like to see, because I don't like when the car tends to understeer out of Eau Rouge when it hits that curb, which is a thing that this car doesn't do, which is nice. We aren't as fast out of that turn. Braking into this 180-degree turn. Full speed. Trail braking in. Getting that speed out of the turn as well. We will probably get track limits though. Indeed we do. As we have cut that turn a bit too much. Not able to see the turn as much. But going through this turn, we're not experiencing as much understeer as I thought we might, which is nice to see, to be honest. But we are going to have to get used to this car. Nicely done throughout that turn, to be honest. Good turning. But yes, we will have to use more of that trail braking with this car. I thought this car might be my thing, but it might not. But we will have to see. But I've heard it's a strong choice, so we will give it a second chance. Obviously, maybe tweaking my FOV settings, my camera setup, and the actual car setup itself might give it that more fragile and attackingness to it, which would be needed, me personally. But we don't set a lap here. We'll just do one more lap, just to make sure that this is how the car feels. And then we'll obviously go on to the Porsche. Done all right for that turn. Obviously we are gaining on that past lap, as we didn't do very impressively. But another strong exit through Eau Rouge, and it feels nice. The car seriously does feel nice. Braking not impressively out of that straight. Had a bit too much speed. We do feel a bit of understeer, but it's all right. Now we are going into this turn here. Go over that curb 100% too much. Not that one that we just did, but the inside curb. Now we're gonna try go very slowly, and we do feel a lot of flipping understeer. Well, we will have to try and understand this car a bit more. Okay, we're gonna keep it going now throughout these turns and end the lap off, obviously, although we will not get a lap time. Okay, finishing off this lap, my first thoughts of this car is it's fast, it's understeery, and it's got good traction and good braking. So we're going to end that lap there, and we're going to go back to the main menu just very quickly, and we're going to go onto the Porsche in race weekend. I've got a feeling that that car is going to have a tendency of snapping, but we'll have to see. We really will. I just do hope that this car is fun. I hope that this car is fun. I really want a fun car, and that's something that I haven't found yet in this game. Although all the cars are good, none of them are in a sense of fun, really. The closest I've ever gotten to a fun car was the BMW, but that's the usual. And we've got an interesting setup for the TC. 6 and 6 on the onboard TC and 6 on the power cut. TC 8 on the slip angle, but that's all right. Brake bias, honestly, that's the usual, bit more to the back, but that's fine. ABS on a 9, so understeer. But yeah, not too bad. We're going to go 30%, and let's get on driving. Here you can see immediately that you have just a more amount of visual, so you can see quite a bit more. We do experience quite a lot of understeer through there, and car feels loose in a sense. Feels like very loose on turning. Yep, but I can feel it oversteering, although I was correcting it quite a bit, which could have been another thing that made it more oversteery. But on my wheel, letting it go, it kind of just stays there. The brakes are solid. holding well on the traction. Going over this turn, we obviously do feel a bit of understeer. The brakes are really good on this car. I really like them. The car really likes to use the trail braking method, which is nice. Going through this turn, it feels no understeer whatsoever, which is pretty nice. Well, let's see here. It likes to oversteer. No, it doesn't. Going on to the turn here. We don't feel as much understeer as the Aston. Do feel a bit of traction there, going on the brakes a bit more for me. But in my defense, this car feels nice. It really does feel nice around some of these turns. It feels smooth, and it's got what I want. That fun to it, that fun feel to it, which is nice, you know. I really, really like that feel. It's not too snappy, although Eau Rouge it might be a problem. But yeah, no, the brakes are incredible as well, is another thing. Going into the chicane, no understeer whatsoever there. Honestly, it feels great. We're gonna brake a bit after the total energy sign. See how that does for the braking. Again, we feel no understeer, just a bit of oversteer. That's fine. Gonna try go flat out. We do nearly go flat out. That may be a problem, although I might have not been turning enough throughout that turn. But we'll see how it continues. Let's just hope that it's got good braking, even at full speed. And it does. It has really solid braking. Just oversteer if something, even under braking. The braking feels really good, I have to admit. So you can really go fast in this car, I have to admit. But it feels flipping good, I have to admit. Out of this turn. This car feels very fast, in my opinion. We do feel understeer there, but I think I may have pushed it out of that turn a bit too much. It's alright though. The lap wasn't going to count anyway. Nice turning out of there. Using a bit of trail braking in this car, but funny enough, we weren't using trail braking whatsoever in that Aston, I have to admit. Letting go of the gas a bit there, because we were going to oversteer out of that turn. But I'm going to keep it going, see how it keeps rolling, because it does feel nice, but I'm not sure if I totally like it understeering that much for Eau Rouge. I'm just not sure if it was just me not turning enough in Eau Rouge. We'll just have to make sure of that. I'm gonna go for a proper lap now. I don't think we were ready for that Aston getting used enough to that Aston. Braking nicely with that late apex in first turn. Now we're going to try out Eau Rouge again. I've got a feeling it was just because I understeered. And I think it was. I think it was all that I just understeered so much. But the gear limiter does limit the fifth gear to like around 234 kilometers an hour, if I'm not wrong. So that is also another reason that we could be going pretty slow compared to other cars through that turn. Nicely through that turn. We're feeling pretty solid right now. Decently fast, which is another good thing. Going fast out of that turn. Braking into this turn. Not how I wanted it to turn. And we do make a mistake. But the car feels fun. And we are missing a rear wing as well. And now, we're just going to have to be extremely careful if I try to turn. Okay, we don't spin out. Maybe we can survive without a wing. Nope, we can't. No, we can't. But yeah, the car feels nice. I have to admit, it is what I was looking for in the fun area, but I think I did. Didn't brake enough into that corner, which may have been a reason that this happened to our car. And rear wing is what gives it that downforce, we see. But let's just go back to the garage. Let's have one more lap, just one more lap, to see how this car feels. Because we already understand it. We were going for another lap there, and we just didn't get it. Do that one lap, and we will finish off with our review. This will be the lap that I'm talking about. I think 5th gear will still be the way to go through that turn, you know, guys. I think the 6th gear might be too much. I would like to know your opinions as well, guys, to be honest. I would like to find out what the best ways of taking the turns in this car, in this track are, in your opinion. My tyres are still cold. I can see going through these turns, as I can feel my tyres slipping a bit. That's fine. Go through this turn. Okay, well, I have to admit, the car feels pretty darn nice. Doesn't snap oversteer into this turn here that we're taking. It does like to understeer at certain moments, I have to admit that. But a lot of cars do like to do that. So it's just a matter of getting used to the car. But the car's similar to the Ferrari and the BMW, I would say, where it's still got that stability, but it's got that sharp front end, which helps it kind of to avoid that understeer, which is nice. But yeah, honestly, you guys, this car feels good. The car feels brilliant. Me personally, I would say better than the Aston Martin. I'm not sure if that's the truth, but I rather this car, I think, currently. I think if I tune the setups to my liking in the Aston, it might perform better. I don't know about the Porsche. I think the Porsche is already at its limits, or close to its limits. But I have to admit, you guys, these are some damn nice cars. You should definitely get this pack. There are a few more packs that I can review if you guys want me to. Obviously, you can see down below here, there are some ELMS packs that I can review if you want. Obviously, some hypercar packs if you want me to review as well. But that's the video, guys. Hope you like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.